one of the biggest threats to the United States is low-income earners. And it's not that low-income earners are going to take away from the rich and the wealthy. It is the fact that low-income earners are getting hammered, and Congress is not doing anything for them. Congress actually is destroying low-income earners as we speak. Now, we've seen this many times in the past, that Congress or the president a campaigning president is promising certain things for certain individuals. And the people that they go after every single time, which is just sickening, is the low income earners. Now, what is going on in 2023? Well, here's what I can tell you. The official poverty rate in the United States in 2021 was 11.6%. Well, that was understandable because we were coming out of a pandemic, the big virus, right? Well, in 2022, it dropped to 7.8%. But why did it drop to 7.8%? Well, a lot of it had to do with that $3,600 child tax credit payment. This was a huge benefit, helped out millions and millions of people, brought the poverty rate for children down substantially, over 50%, but yet it didn't get extended. Well, here's the thing. This is big. Congress has vowed for one thing and one thing only. They were going to provide for the American people at all costs, and they would give them additional help. However, this is not what has happened. This didn't happen in 2022. This is not happening so far in 2023. And the current projection for the poverty rate in the United States is 15 or close to 15% for 2023. That is ridiculous. That is going to hurt millions and millions of people. Now, why hasn't Congress done anything? Why hasn't Congress passed anything? And what is Congress even discussing, or were they discussing in 2022? Because as of right now, as of shooting this video, we still don't have a Speaker of the House. We do not know if it's going to be Republican Representative Kevin McCarthy. Chances are it will be. He's going to have to pretty much bend over backwards and provide concessions to those holdouts. But in doing so, it's going to hurt the American people. Now, here's what Congress was discussing in 2022. They wanted things like higher wages for low-income earners. This included a $15 federal minimum wage. However, that is being pushed by certain states, but it's not being pushed by the federal government. They would also provide additional paid time off. This is something that Democrats said we have to do. It is something that is needed. But yet when it came to the railroad strike and railroad workers asking for additional days off, the federal government pretty much said no. The economy is too important for you to get a day off. So that kind of shed some light on where Democrats stood there, or at least President Biden. They also said Congress would pass bills to ensure that lower income earners had additional nutrition assistance. Well, they did provide additional nutrition assistance, but it came for children, and it's really going to start in 2024. They also talked about how Social Security should see additional benefits as well as a result to Congress providing additional assistance for many and millions of Americans. Well, Social Security didn't get much. Okay, they got a cost of living adjustment, but at the same time, and here's the issue, by everything costing more money, the cost of living adjustment going up 8.7%, it did help, but it is still impacting lower income earners because they still don't have enough money. But yet, where's Congress? Well, they're not doing anything. They also are saying that those lower income earners with student debt would soon see some of their debts wiped away. Well, student debt forgiveness is still on hold. That's not going anywhere. And then they talk about children. Children of low-income earners should receive help through the extension of the $3,600 child tax credit payments. However, that didn't get extended either. They discussed it, but Republicans wanted corporate tax breaks, and Democrats said no, absolutely not. So we're at a standstill. But here is where Congress just destroyed the lower income earners here in the United States. One of the things that we were told is that the American Rescue Plan, big bill, a lot of money, this was going to help out the lower income earners, right? This was the Inflation Reduction Act, excuse me. This Inflation Reduction Act was going to benefit the lower income earners. It was going to target the wealthy, but is that exactly what we're seeing? The answer is no. Here's what's happening. Not only did Congress not provide lower income earners with additional relief, we're also not going to see an increase to Social Security at this point. The child tax credit payments are pretty much in limbo, and wages on the federal level anytime soon are not going to go up. But here is what is happening. Democrats are allowing the IRS to go after lower income earners as well. I'm not just even going to say Democrats, all lawmakers. Even though Republicans didn't vote for it, it was still a bill that was passed. And so the IRS going after the lower income earners, this is going to impact millions and millions of people. Now, I'm going to read this article with you in just a second, where it says in 2022, the IRS went after the very poorest taxpayers. This was actually just released today. We are going to discuss that in just a minute. But first, I want to address something else. And that is when lawmakers said they would fix the issue with regards to COLA. This is both for Social Security and SNAP benefits. Multiple lawmakers, they stated that due to the cost of living adjustments for Social Security going up, well, they knew that benefits for SNAP would be reduced. That's exactly what has happened. They also knew that some would have to file a federal income tax return because they will now make over $25,000 per year as an individual. Because of that, they're going to have to pay taxes. Well, guess what? Their Social Security increase last year was at 5.9%. This caused many people to have to pay for additional, pretty much pay taxes. Well, they didn't have to do that before. So now they're having to spend more money, right? And they knew that the IRS income adjustments due to inflation, they wouldn't be enough. But yet, what was done? What was done to address this back in 2022? Nothing. Did they do anything to address it in the $1.7 trillion omnibus bill? No, nothing was addressed then either. Now, this is why many are talking now. They're saying that they are unable to provide additional assistance that the American people needed. But I want to show you this chart, okay? This chart right here is going to show you the highest levels, or the current levels of the poverty rate in each specific state. Now, we are not going to go through every single state, but you can get the idea. Now, you can see here the majority in the center, okay, in the Midwest. This is where they have higher poverty rate. Look in Washington State. You can see down here at the kind of the bottom of the page, you can see the current poverty rate is 9.39%. Look at California, it's 12.7 or 07%. But look at Arkansas, 15.74%. The highest unemployment rate, okay, is actually coming from Mississippi at 19.07%. The lowest unemployment rate is actually right here in New Hampshire at 6.98%. Now, you can see whether you're in Illinois at 11.62%, you're in Florida, 12.4%, Tennessee, 13.63%. You got here, District of Columbia. You got South Carolina, 13.79. But then you got, let's say, Oregon, 11.62, right? You got Maryland, 8.44, right? You got, let's see, we'll do New Jersey at 8.93, New York at 12.62. Let's go Michigan, 13.19. Here's the issue. The poverty rate is going to get worse, is the expectation for 2023. Not better, it's supposed to get worse, okay? Now, let's address the tax situation, and here's why. If you are living in poverty, according to a few reports that I read just this morning, there's a higher chance that you run the risk of an audit. Now, why is that? Well, according to these reports, they're saying that lower income earners have a higher chance of being audited because they are likely to not report certain income because they don't want to pay taxes on it. And they think, the general consensus would be that it's not that much money. The IRS isn't going to come after me if I only made, $2,000. No big deal. The IRS will come after you. The IRS will come after you for anything, right? Doesn't matter. But I want to read you this report because this is pretty much saying that the IRS is going to go after lower income earners. Not just in 2023, they already started to back in 2022. Look at this. So, this right here is from reason.com. It says, in 2022, the IRS went after the very poorest taxpayers. Now, let's go and read this. So this came out on Wednesday from Syracuse University. They're saying that despite the infusion of new funding earmarked for the IRS via last year's Inflation Reduction Act, the agency continued historic trends of hassling primarily low-income taxpayers and relatively few millionaires and billionaires getting caught up in the audit sweep. They go on to say, the taxpayer class with unbelievably high audit rates, 5.5 times virtually anybody else, were low-income wage earners taking the Earned Income Tax Credit, reported Track, noting that the poorest taxpayers are easy marks in an era where IRS increasingly relies upon correspondence audits, yet doesn't have the resources to assist taxpayers to answer their questions. It says, in fact, if one ignores the fiction of auditing a millionaire through simply sending a letter through the mail, the odds that millionaires receive a regular audit by a revenue agent, 1.1%, was actually less than the audit rate of the targeted lowest income wage earners, whose audit rate was 1.27%. So, what does this mean? Well, unfortunately, this means lower income earners are going to be targeted. This was something that we heard. This was something that we expected, right? There were rumors that the IRS was going to go after the lowest income earners, but we heard reports from Democrats and from our congressmen and women that no, that's not the way it works. It's not the way the IRS works. That we said this bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, was going to go after the millionaires and billionaires, the wealthy. But that's not how the IRS works. They don't just go after people because they have $100 million or $100 billion. They go after people based off of flags, at least according to the reports. But as we know, that's not necessarily true either. So who do we believe? Well, I'm going to believe the people that are actually doing the research. So I'm going to believe those that are actually putting out the information. But again, it's up to you who you want to believe. Now, here's what I can tell you. Things are going to be different in 2023. My guess is as the IRS does hire on additional agents, we are going to see those agents target the lower income households, the middle income households, and some are going to go after those that do make a little bit more money. I do want to show you one additional chart right here, and here's what's being talked about. Okay, let me show you this really quick if I can. There you go. So that right there, that chart, it shows audits with more than $1 million in income. Guess what's happening? People are being targeted, and you see it by a correspondence audit, not a revenue agent, by a correspondence audit. That means they're being sent a letter. That's it, a letter asking for more information on this or that. Guess what happens? Millionaires, they just go to their CPA or their attorney and be like, hey, I'm getting questioned on this. Can you fix it? And they fix it. But a lower income earner that used H&R Block or TurboTax and did it themselves is more likely to try to send off some information, might not be the right one, and then they get a tax auditor. And then maybe a revenue agent. But again, it's going to be interesting to see what happens this year. My only worry is that Congress keeps on destroying the lower income and middle income households. So if you're worried about this as well, please let me know down in the comment section below. But thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing. I'll see you guys on the next one.